This is why we can't have nice things. Certainly, I've been very clear. I think, I'm not a big Fallout video game series guy, so I didn't have a lot riding on this. I'm a big Walter Goggins guy. I like pretty much everything he's been in. And I'm always pulling for fandoms to get what they want, right? Like, I'm a Ghostbusters guy, a Star Trek guy. I didn't have, when I got to 2016 Ghostbusters, I had a very visceral negative reaction. For Fallout, I'm just hoping for the best for all of you. And even though the show is, I would say, relatively liked, it still isn't unanimous, because real Fallout, like people who are real deep in the Fallout lore, in particular, parts of the Fallout lore, don't love it. I mean, look at Critical Drinker. He put out his video today, and while it has 33,000 upvotes, which is a lot, obviously, 3.5 thousand downvotes is a lot. And basically all he says is Fallout is a good show. So I don't even know, it relies a little bit too much on member berries. I think that's probably the biggest complaint, But you see, the bulk of the survivors do not, in fact, live in vaults 200 years after the incident, nor were the vault dwellers ever the bulk of the survivors. So there are things, from a lore perspective that hardcore Fallout fans don't like, and I think that's okay. You're obviously, you know the lore better than I do. Then, of course, you have your games journalists take on it, and they write articles like, oh, only idiot gamers couldn't understand that the politics of this show, the politics of Amazon's Fallout, are so explicit, only a gamer could miss them. Fallout really hits you over the head with its satire on consumerism and capitalism, but some won't get it. It's literally the Wojak meme with the giant brain. And we're going to take a look at that. And then, of course, we have the argument of cake. This individual who creates AI game characters, okay, this is literally what they do, managed to trigger half of the internet with a slight little, how do you say, they redid the back porch, put some new vinyl trim on it, filled it out a little bit, okay, added some new angles to it. And people got so triggered about this. Can we make a new rule? To comment on the appearance of a woman, you have to have had the touch of a woman at least. Anytime somebody says, look at this, go outside, 56,000 likes. Another day, another man embarrassing himself, 40,000 likes. You've never felt the touch of a woman, of course, from a trans in the bio OF fan. People got so nuclear triggered. Haha. Maybe I'll put that in the title somewhere. I mean, why are these people so insane? The level of triggering from this was, I just, whoever game characters AI, do I follow them? I'm going to follow them. Because, look, I get kind of the slippery slope when it's a real character, like a real human being, a real human in real life, versus like AI on a fake character. If I'm this female actress who plays this role, do I love seeing people make AI adjustments to my body? No. So I can understand that argument, but that's not the argument that they're making. They're just making you're a virgin. That's mostly what all these are. Here's with Mudahar with a hot take. This is what crippling prawn addiction looks like. 200,000 likes. I mean, it's interesting if you look into some of the things that he follows. But, I think even Mudahar gets so butthurt. All these people really, really angry. Now, by the way, I don't have any issue with Ella Purnell. I think, like Critical Drinker mentioned in the in his review, that I was obviously, my biggest concern about it was that we were going to have a strong, independent woman who don't need no man. And I guess according to him, that's not really how it turned out. Like, the deep lore people are really, really upset. They have some issues, and that's fine. But I don't understand why people will get so triggered about this, and everybody, I mean, like, look at all the mods that you get in Skyrim, and so what if people want to do that? Now, again, it's a little in the gray area, but just people getting so pressed. Look at this. Ella Purnell should be given legal authority to end this guy's life. Like, that Star Wars girl tweeted. I mean, imagine being that unhinged. Yeah, I don't know. And here's Game Characters AI. Yep. Over a picture. I have nothing against the actress. I apologize to her and will never do this to real people again. Not worth it. Instead of being mad about this, people should look at what Western game developers are doing to real women's likenesses. Well, these are the same people who are butthurt about this. I'm willing to start photoshopping bigger rear ends on women just to make people have literal mental breakdowns. Yeah, I think that, I think I had a tweet earlier today. Like, look at this. I wrote, be blessed enough to be a model, get an awesome job to be in a video game, tell all your friends you're the star of the game, and then the game comes out. This is literally a picture of her, who the game was modeled after, and then how she came out in the game. And people, like, why are you even hiring models if you're just going to make them, like, weird looking? I mean, she's like a Wisconsin 7. I don't know the idea, like, she doesn't really look like a model to me. She's like a California 5. But, like, this is like a Wisconsin 2. What is going on? I mean, why even have a model? And then this guy says, look, I don't get this. Like, literally looks just like her, my guy. Only no makeup and more weathering on the skin. Are you joking? It looks like her if she gained 60 pounds and she was retaining a bunch of water. It looks nothing like her. Looks like Nick Ocado avocado. I mean, in the first game, it looks a little closer, and then the second game, it's just far worse. So don't tell me that Western game developers aren't purposely making characters uglier. I mean, you saw the way that the entire industry melted down over the Stellar Blade character. And they were trying to say, oh, you're creating unrealistic standards for women. Oh, wait, what? It's actually based after a real woman? Oops. Oh, it looks just like the real woman? There were like two major points that these clowns kept making. The first was that, it's unrealistic standards, right? Well, no, it's actually modeled after a real woman. Here's her picture. Here's us doing scans of her, and here's how she looks. Basically, a very good likeness. And then a bunch of Western game developers, sorry for hitting the mic there, a bunch of Western game developers pretended like, it's actually really difficult. Actually, it's really difficult to do scans. It's very difficult, except, again, Stellar Blade disproves that. You see this, can we just make a diagnostic and a study the personality of video game journals? They have political derangement syndrome. If they don't write a political story every 15 minutes, they'll collapse. There was a time when you hired them to talk about things being fun. This from Eric Switzer, who I'm sure I looked up their Twitter bio, and it probably will have all sorts of, flags in the bio, and they're probably trans, or they're probably, I haven't looked yet, but I'd be willing to bet. You see, the 6th episode of Amazon's Fallout has a scene so hilarious on the nose with his political message that it made me do a double take. Walter Goggins' Cooper is meeting with an army buddy, a fellow actor named Charlie Whiteknife, who has fallen in with the group of anti-Vault-Tec radicals labeled communists by the media. Cooper tells Charlie that they should be more grateful for the life that he has to give up the communist ways that they fought and stand together. But Charlie is unswayed. His goal is to convince Cooper to come to one of his meetings. He starts by teaching Cooper the concept of fiduciary responsibility, explaining that Vault-Tec is a cooperation driven solely by profit motive, which is good, by the way, and has a responsibility to its shareholders to increase value by selling vaults. But it can only do that if people need vaults, i.e., when the world is teetering on the edge of nuclear catastrophe, without a hint of irony, Cooper delivers the most perfect retort imaginable. That's called capitalism, Charlie. If they hadn't been a cut right before this line, you would have seen Walter Goggins wink at the camera. So what this big-brained video games journalist is saying is that capitalism caused nuclear winter. I mean, it's so wild how these people don't understand even the most basic history about communism, Marxism, things of that nature. See, there's no mistaking that fall has to say about the world we live in today. And yet I have a strong suspicion that certain people will in fact mistake it. It seems like the anti-woke crowd has been on a tear of poor media literacy as of late, so much so that it has become overt as Helldivers 2. An astute skewering of the militaristic fascism is being hailed as an anti-political game. The thing is that these moron games journalists have never understood and will never understand is that the same people that make these arguments, like, oh, I mean, the X-Men have always been political. Dork. Oh, the X-Men have always been political. What do you know? Yes, the X-Men have always been political, but they weren't lame with their political messaging, and they didn't beat you over the head with it. They had some good writers. They had subtlety. They had nuance. And so that you could consume the show and also its message. And then somewhere along the line, it only became about the message. And so it was message first and then show second. And that's why, and when, the exact moment when all modern cinema and all modern video games started to suck. But I suppose it's a games journalist. We can't expect them to understand a single damn thing about this world. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please do leave a like on it, and we'll talk to you again real soon.